NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhegelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast and another friendly face that I'm getting ready to meet here on the other line. Please tell me, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
Hi, Dean. My name is Alethia Austin, and I am a skydiving coach, writer, business owner, a yoga teacher.
You're a busy lady.
I am a busy lady.
That's good, though. Alethia, that's an interesting name. I don't believe I've ever heard that before.
There's only a few of us out there. It means truth in Greek, which makes my mom, who named me, sound just so cool, which she is, but she had no clue what that meant. She was just like a huge hippie. I found out what it meant.
I like that. Although the hippie thing does ring true, but it's the fact that she didn't know is kind of funny.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
like that, though. I like that. So lots of irons in the fire. You're doing a whole bunch of shit. I'm glad that you had the time to sit down and talk to me.
Thank you, brother. Awesome. It's really a pleasure. You recently interviewed Ricky Rout, who is just a total love. I coached him recently, and he's
amazing.
He's a shredder. I love it. What a great mind. So I'm very excited to be on here.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
He's a huge human, just absolutely beautiful mind.
That was one of my favorite interviews in that I got to know him well outside of skydiving, and he was just beginning his journey and just starting to jump. And he had this just passion you could see for it, but he also had the restraint of somebody that's as good as he is in his sport. And it was a really cool mixture to see.
Totally. I fully agree with that.
Yeah. So back to you. So tell me, before we get too deep into everything you've got going on, how did you get started, not necessarily in our sport, but in anything like this?
Yeah, I recall a lot being a really young girl digging around in the dirt. And I remember I grew up in a small town in Southern Oregon that just had a gas station, one grocery store, and pretty rednecky, pretty just kind of hopeless type of town. And I
Sure.
remember digging around in the dirt, feeling like whatever I was experiencing at that age wasn't it. I have this vivid memory. So I think that kind of lit this fire of exploration of what we're doing here on the planet.
Mm,
So when I left that town, I traveled a lot. I got into a lot of different sports and activities, and all of those things just kind of opened up this channel inside of me of just like pure passion for being alive.
nice. It's kind of funny that coming from a place that doesn't have a lot of shit going on, basically, can spur you to go out and do a bunch of shit, or to just sit and stagnate in that same little town.
Oh man, isn't that the truth? Yeah, it really leans you in either direction, whatever
Yeah,
is
yeah.
resonating with you.
Well, and I never would have thought. It's kind of funny that you called the small little town in Oregon rednecky, because I don't think redneck when I think Oregon. You just don't think that. And then I went and visited my mom, who lives on the coast in Depot Bay, and I went to a tattoo parlor to look about getting some ink. And when I walked in, the tattoo artist had a Glock on his hip while he was
Oh,
giving someone a tattoo. And I went, oh, yeah, no, 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 okay.
yeah, that sounds about right.
I,
I was living in Europe for a long time and I came back to the US after maybe like 5 years of not visiting. And my grandma, I went to visit her in Rogue River, Oregon, which is where I'm from. My grandma took me out to her favorite burger place. And I walked in and the man behind the counter taking our order had a massive gun like exposed. And they gave a 15% discount for anybody that would show their gun in the restaurant. And I was like, whoa, we've taken a big turn here.
Yeah, and I've gone the other direction, of course, now because I'm living in Europe, and it's the polar opposite to a lot of that. You just don't see that here. When you see somebody with a gun here, you're like, oh shit, something must be going on. There's a gun. Not there.
Nope, not here.
Yeah. So how did skydiving enter your life? Obviously, you wanted to get out of the small town kind of feel and get out there and start spreading your wings, but how did all that come about?
My mom had a friend named Hoyt Patton, and he did a lot of different air sports growing up. I never watched him skydive, but I think that's where the idea came from because that was through my childhood. I was around 22-ish, and I was working out of an office in Los Angeles, and I had just moved to the city, and I was like small town girl trying to figure out what the hell you do as an adult. And I just had this idea that I should go for a skydive, so I picked up the Yellow Pages, um, and I found a drop zone in like north of LA, Skydive California City by Van and Alberta Prey.
Mm.
And I just took myself up there, and like the moment I skydived, something shifted. It was just like a complete opening of just joy and fun, but also some kind of purpose. And it fully resonated. It fully resonated.
I mean, I've talked to people that it took a while for it to catch up to them, and then people like me who I'm like, oh God, I think I do this now. But for me, it was the joy that I got out of the jump itself, of course, was fun, but I was scared shitless. So it was the fact that I had overcome that fear and actually had fun doing it, and I didn't puke on my instructor. I'm like, all right, I think I can keep doing this.
Oh man, that's it. That's it. I fully hear that. Like it was a practice of pushing past fear, which I think most people, when we get to the beginning stage of fear, it's like we pull back and we go back into comfort zone. And so, I had this thing in my AFF where I would go, I'm going to be a quadriplegic, paraplegic, I'm going to die, the most horrible things. And they would start to make me want to tell my AFF instructor, I can't do this.
Oh yeah.
And so I learned on the plane, I taught myself that I would give myself 3,000 feet of altitude to totally freak out. And so I would look at my altimeter, the really big one on my hand, and for 3,000 feet, just say all of the gory things in my mind. And then once that was over, I would go through it.
Nice.
But what it kind of gave me really early on, straight from the beginning, from the very first skydive, I remember it was a 2.5 hour drive up to the drop zone. And so I was really thinking about my life. I was going through a massive transition of that small town kind of icky place to like being out in the world with people doing things. And so I remember having this kind of inventory on my life driving up to the drop zone. And then on the plane, I was racking my brain, like, have I been good? Do people know that I love them? Am I doing well in terms of my impact on other people? And it allowed me for so many skydives, and still to this day, to really do this personal inventory of how I'm behaving down here on Earth.
Sure.
Is it in alignment with my greater values and my greater morals? And that was a really sticky part of those first skydives for me, of like, oh, I got to have this stuff sorted.
Sure.
Because like those 3,000 feet, all that icky stuff, it really could be possible. So
yeah.
It gave me a deeper meaning for sure.
I mean, it kind of did the same thing for me as well. When I was learning, I remember I had a turnaround point on the highway where if I freaked out too much in the car, if I turned around before this point, I could go home and feel good. But if I drove past that, I was going to go make a skydive. And inevitably, every time I drove past it, then it's just all this horror show shit that you're thinking as you're going. And same thing in the plane. But as soon as you let go of the plane, shit changes. But I kept revisiting that kind of mentality throughout my entire career because I went from being a fun jumper to a very busy fun jumper to a competitor to a camera flyer to an instructor. And all of a sudden, it's not just, am I going to survive the jump? It's, am I going to survive the weekend where I'm going to do 75 jumps? It's going to be crazy busy. And so you have to shift gears and kind of take that mental inventory every single day you're heading to work. And it helps.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? There's no opportunity. There's less opportunity for us to really like just go to sleep at the wheel. I feel like when we're living in this high volume, high impact,
Yep.
dangerous with the ear quotes, the rabbit quotes, thing, which is very valuable as a human.
Well, and I suppose I could be accused of giving skydivers a little too much credit, but I naturally assume that all skydivers to some degree are much better at taking stock of themselves than, I hate saying normal people, but that's what I mean, normal people, because we're not normal. Like jumping out of an airplane is not a fucking normal thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
So I always tend to give skydivers again perhaps a little bit more credit, but I think we're pretty resilient people, especially mentally, because of what we put ourselves through all the time.
I wholeheartedly agree. Just pushing past that fear, I think, already builds in some resilience.
So when you took off from Oregon to California, what was life? What were you doing for work and all that?
Oh my gosh. My first job was raking blueberries in Canada.
Okay.
That lasted for half of an afternoon. I was 17 and broke and just traveling Canada with my beautiful angel in my life, Grandma Gladdy. And then it was working at a wildlife way station with rescued lions and tigers and orangutans. And then that transitioned into managing a doctor's office. And then I started to write. And I had collected National Geographics as a child, which I think is a really common thing for people. And I dreamed about like following tribes and writing about them. And so I kind of wrote myself a job in LA as a writer. And then that transitioned to the music industry. So I've kind of like, I'm a college dropout. I tried to put myself in college at a young age. I had no, when I left home with $150. There was no support for my family because they were all broke. So I just kind of made that work. And
Sure.
college ended up being really expensive for me to do a couple jobs at the same time. So I just kind of, I winged it. I figured out how to do stuff and do it to a level that people would continue to hire me.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of different roles within that.
So with the writing thing, I mean, were you an avid reader at the time? Was this something that you had always thought, or you just figured out that you had a bit of a knack with it?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily an avid reader. I was an avid thinker and an avid dreamer, and that would usually translate to pen and paper. So it was little children's books that I would kind of scribble down on paper, and it was journaling to like massive degrees, and it was poems, and it was fake reporting. That was before I became a hired writer. And then I wrote myself into some websites when, like, this is so weird to say, but kind of when websites were getting out there.
Sure.
Um, um, and so I started to review restaurants and bands. I used to go to for like it was called LAsecrets.com. I don't even know if it's still around, but I used to go review artists and concerts in LA and then also restaurants, which was really beautiful because as like a 21-year-old who was super broke in Los Angeles, I was eating for free with a chef coming up to introduce themselves to me, and then
Sure.
seeing all of the bands that I wanted to see with the practice of also writing behind it. It was really
Sure.
fun.
Well, the great thing about writing is if you're good at it, the technical side of writing is something that you can learn, but you can't learn to be a good creative writer. You can put a
Yeah.
story together, but that doesn't mean it's going to be any good.
Yeah.
So learning how to, cross your T's and dot your I's and where to punctuate this and what word to use after that. Okay, fine. Those rules you can learn, but you can't put together a proper story if you don't have that feel for it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's funny that your daydream was to go follow tribes around and write about them, and now you're in skydiving, which is as close to being in the tribe and writing about them as you can.
That's pretty amazing. It's very true.
I mean,
Yeah, I was thinking about going to small places in Africa and, Asia, South America, and I have gone to those places, but it's been through mostly, I'd say 75% of it has been through skydiving. So
sure,
yeah, I
sure.
hadn't looked at it in that way. Good
You went
framing.
to faraway, exotic places like Paris Valley and, and Eloy, and I mean, I don't know about you, but the first time I ever rolled into Paris Valley, I remember vividly looking around going, where the fuck am I? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because it was
Absolutely.
the neighborhood leading into the drop zone, you're just looking around going, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
So true. It's
Yeah,
so true.
yeah.
As most drop zones in the world, right? They just happen to be perched up in the weirdest places.
Yep, yep, absolutely. I mean, Cross Keys was probably my favorite because you literally drove down a residential street to get to the drop zone. Like it was, you'd walk past the Wilsons and wave at them as you're walking to the drop zone where the most insane shit was going on. And you're like, no.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you make that first jump, it's absolutely your thing. How do you start getting into skydiving?
Oh my gosh. It was saving every penny that I had to make the next AFF jump, which would usually be about a month to 2 months in between
Mm,
each jump. And I would take myself up there, continue on, scared as shit because it had been so long since the last one. I think it took me like a year and a half to get my AFF. And then at the drop zone that I was at, it was really like we kind of skydive, but mostly we drink beer, we shoot shotguns, and we drive our cars and doing donuts in the desert. Like that's what the drop zone was. So that's what I did for my first 100 jumps or so. I'd go out there, the only young female there. Everybody was like, you know, um, 60, 70 years old belly flyers, except for one small crew. There were four really cool people there that were young. They were probably in their 30s, and I thought they were the coolest. And because they were doing this head down stuff and this tracking stuff. But yeah, I was, throughout those years, I started to work at a higher level with artists. And so I was having these strange things in LA where I'd be on a red carpet with like Oprah Winfrey, event with her. And I'd be sitting, on the couch with the Foo Fighters and had all these very strange things happening because of my career in music. And then I'd go to the drop zone where nobody had any clue who I was. Nothing was cool. Nothing that I was coming from was cool. So I had zero currency of coolness, which I have always found really refreshing.
Yeah.
And I'd go out there and it was just like a bunch of, men shooting shotguns and taking me on, 15-way belly jumps, just, and I didn't learn a lot about flying, but I learned a lot about what the community can be like and how we're all pretty much in the same kind of quilt of safety and friendship and love, and everybody is in. And it was really cool. I think that's what really kind of held me there as well. It's just this
For
thing of
sure.
like, I belong to you people. Like we have zero in common, and you don't care about anything in LA, which was so refreshing. And I can just show up here and everybody is just so friendly. It was really beautiful.
It's really cool, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
the at the end of the day, very little of my skydiving career has much to do with jumping out of a plane. Like, it's what I did, but that's not why I lived on the drop zone and did all that stuff. And you're right, you feel a level of acceptance in a sport like skydiving that I can't imagine you can find too many other places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which,
There's an immediate like truth and meeting point when you walk on a drop zone. It's almost as if we've somehow all the niceties and walls, or a lot of them are gone already. We just already meet in such a deeper place, which is really cool.
yeah. Yeah, it really is. Well, you know that somebody that's boarding that airplane has already jumped through all the same hurdles and overcome the same shit that you have, and and everybody at some point has had to figure out that fear is not a wall, it's a door. And but that's a tough thing. And so when you're boarding that plane with somebody that's already been jumping, you know they've already done that. So there's a real bond there. And it's I've likened it to the whole band of brothers, people in a foxhole together kind of mentality, because you're facing some pretty primal fucking fear, and then not only getting through it, but having fun on top of it. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I haven't been in a foxhole with brothers, but I'm pretty deeply into plant medicine communities, and we're meeting like I've been open about this the last few years, but I'm involved in ayahuasca circles,
Oh,
and where
nice.
you meet in ayahuasca circles are there is no ability to hold any different faces. There's no ability to, you just can't hold anything. You're just fully present there.
Sure.
And there's some similarities there with the fears and pushing past fears and all of the worries and doubts, and how you manage your inner world
Sure.
is very similar to skydiving.
Sure.
So
It's
yeah.
what's funny about the plant medicine stuff in fear, though, like I've got a pretty decent experience with psilocybin and mushrooms, and now that I'm not flying for a living anymore, I can talk all about that shit. It's great. Um, and living here in Finland, I'll happily, eat a bunch of mushrooms and go wander through the forest and hang out with the trees and just do my thing. But I actually was on Trust the Journey with Jay Maletsky, and talked to him briefly about it as well. The whole crossover thing, like the ayahuasca ceremonies, for now, that still holds me back a little bit because you've got to face all that. And as a skydiver, part of me feels like I've been doing the whole fake it till you make it thing. Like I managed to get through it, but by the skin of my teeth. And when all that's stripped away and you don't have those defenses anymore, you got to face some real shit.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm not quite ready for ayahuasca, but it's a something to work towards. It's a daydream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't think you'll find it too. Yeah, we could have a whole other podcast about it,
Oh yeah.
but I I see that for
Oh
sure.
yeah. Well, it's funny because my wife actually just finished her dissertation, getting her bachelor's in psychology, talking about psilocybin for treatment of end of life. And it's incredibly interesting. And of course, I've read all this stuff by Paul Stamets and Christ, I can't remember his name now, but he wrote like the end all be all for psychedelics. Michael, it's actually related to Michael J. Fox, but you'd know the name right off the top of your head. But an older gentleman that had gone through using every psychedelic out there to try and see the benefits of it, and so all that stuff is absolutely incredible. And so I'm very in the corner of hoping that that stuff continues to move forward.
I follow the MAPS Institute, and they are doing incredible things of bringing forth all of the old research on these different medicines for medicinal purposes, such as
Mm.
ayahuasca and hape and DMT, psilocybin, etc. And they're also a big reason that you're able to see, like I'm in Texas currently, and you will see billboards for psilocybin counseling
Mm.
or ketamine counseling. So MAPS is the institution pushing it forward. And just in 12 or 13 years of sitting very regularly in ayahuasca ceremonies, I see it. I see people come in with, I mean, the most just incredible devastations and traumas, like real deep traumas. And they sit in ceremony. They show up on the first night really tight in their bodies and just heavy, super dense with these things that they've been holding for decades. And they go through the 3 nights with the Colombian Taita that I sit with. He's a couple generations of working with this medicine, so he's a real deal.
Mm.
And they come out the other side of it three mornings later, and you can feel and see the face has changed.
It's wild,
They've been
right?
able to move through these things. It's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful, as opposed to going on, maybe pharmaceuticals that will continue to suppress it and kind of block you from moving through it. You can go spend some pretty exhausting time with these medicines, but just a few of them is going to really empty out a lot of that pain and that trauma. It's
Oh,
so
sure.
beautiful.
Well, I mean, I discovered that even without going the whole 9 yards for the heroic dose and stuff, that even what I consider a comfortable dose, and you wake up the next morning going, "Huh, I didn't realize that was an issue that I had to deal with," and it's really cool because you don't know what to expect, and I'm just wandering around enjoying the trees, and all of a sudden you get kind of a little tap on your shoulder, going, "Hey, you got some shit to sort out before we get back to this." So I can imagine that, especially with that and when it's guided as well, because all my stuff has been pretty much solo. So it's got to be
Yeah.
quite the experience. But something
Yeah.
like that must very favorably lend towards a sport like skydiving where you're dealing with real questions and real fears.
Yeah. Yeah. And losses for sure too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, with skydiving, it's my experience has been there's an athleticism to it that I'm fully drawn to. I love the training of it. I love growing myself in the sport. I love witnessing my inner world facing challenges, whether it's really performance pressure from some massive event or skydive, or whether it's me facing myself not being perfect and what that brings up in myself. So there's all this kind of inner things happening in a skydive, which is really, really cool. That's how we know ourselves, right? And then also the losses that we face in the sport. And I have never opted to be in my life, never searched for being um, in I don't know how to say it, but like a leader.
Mm.
Yeah, right. I've never searched for that role, but life just keeps plucking me and putting me as a leader through multiple things, like in the music industry and then and in the events and etc. So it was when I started to get plucked to be in a leader role in skydiving, unwanted by my side, but sometimes you just go with the flow. It's like, all right, this is what I'm being called to do. I'm in, I'm doing it. And so it wasn't until things started to fall into place for me, being in front of a lot of people again in skydiving, that I started to think, and this was in line with the ayahuasca ceremonies as well, like, but But then if I keep getting called to be here, what do I want to give and what do I want to share?
Mm.
And coming from, 20 plus years of skydiving where we mostly used to drink and mostly be really in that masculine side of skydiving. And even myself as a very feminine female energy, I used to just be like, I guess we're sitting around talking about fart jokes and like, kind of bad mouthing. And I come from brothers, so I get it, but it's not super in alignment with me.
Sure.
So I started to realize, well, I have a choice to be really mindful and with intention if I'm going to be in this role. And those two things kind of helped me see that, being in skydiving and then also working with the plant medicines.
I mean, it really does. And I obviously skydivers tend to be on the show's called the Lunatic Fringe. We tend to be on the fringes of a lot of things. So psychedelic use among skydivers is not unheard of, if I can be so bold. But a lot of the most well-adjusted people have gone through some shit. Whether it be through plant-based medicines or through just the trials and tribulations of the sport itself. And you absolutely learn yourself, and I think you start putting away all the shit that you're pretending to be, and you find that most of the skydivers you meet, that's who they are, at least on the drop zone.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's
So beautiful in that.
it's a nice thing, right? So
Absolutely.
so you go through these crazy paths and you have all these crazy jobs, from blueberries to Foo Fighters and all this stuff. And then, of course, you, if I may use the word, bullshit your way into a writing career, which is fucking
Yep.
hallelujah. I kind of did the same thing. You do all that, and how do you get into the position that you're in now, where you've now combined kind of the love of skydiving and your love for the written word?
Totally. I moved to Europe for a job in Holland, in Amsterdam, and it was a marketing job because through my work in the music industry, I eventually learned how to market all of the artists that I was working for to be able to get them into film and TV. So I had this marketing background, got involved there. Then I rode motorcycles for fun. When I lived in the US, I surfed and I ran marathons. Those were like, and along with skydiving, those were my big like hobbies. I was doing one or multiple of those on my days off. So when I moved to Amsterdam, running sucked. It was flat and rainy. Motorcycles sucked. It was flat and rainy. Surfing sucked. It was like cold wetsuit only. So I really only had like skydiving. So I started to fly from Amsterdam to Spain, set up my laptop for a couple weeks at a time, jump as much as I could, work in the evenings. And then I met the owner of the Skydive Spain, Skydive Algarve, Skydive Hibbelstow, Hannah Swallow, and she was one of the owners. And I would tell her like, hey, like if you made this little tweak in your Google AdWords or your website, you would get a lot more benefit from it. And I gave her free advice for about a year. And she and Skydive Dubai actually just randomly reached out to me at the same time, and they both offered me a job. I thought I chose Spain because there were 3 drop zones and they were just a total disaster in the marketing, so I could make more of an impact there. And then I moved to Spain and I started working in the marketing, and I started up my events, my LSD events, level slot doc. And I just started to jump my heart out, like jump as much as I could after work, before work. I spent all of my money to jump. I went to every event that Europe had. I started to volunteer with Tour, and then eventually started working with Tour. I was getting a ton of coaching, and I was like, I had a hunger that you couldn't feel with skydiving. And that has kind of been something I've noticed in my life, is that when I turn towards following my heart and then just going for it without this condition, like I'm only going to do this if I get good. I'm only going to do this if somebody sees me getting good. It's just, I like fully go in. That's where things really light up for me. So that's just what I did. And people started to see my name everywhere. And, the crew that would create events started to see me constantly hungry and flying. And then I started to get invites to coach, which was absurd. But I thought, I guess if you want me to come to Norway and coach for you, I guess I will. And then I started to get big, like, Africa events and just very strange events. And I did it. And it basically like heart drove my actions. And those heart-filled actions created this ripple of momentum.
Mm. Well, I mean, come on, people can see that kind of passion from a mile away, and it's again not nearly as much about the jumping as it is the community and what goes into it. And if people see somebody that's really passionate, they're drawn to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I fully agree with that. Yeah.
So, with all of that, when did you start channeling that passion into writing about the sport as well?
Yeah, that was, I think it's been about 10 years that I've been writing for Skydive Mag, and it was always just, I wanted to highlight someone in the sport. So I really looked up to females in the sport. I'm such a sister. Like, I love women. I have two baby sisters. They taught me how to love women. And it's a passion to ignite other women together, to remind us that we're actually supportive and beautiful and super powerful together. So I used to see women in the sport and be like, oh, maybe I can write an interview about them for Skydive Mag. And I was just this woman who would find people doing cool stuff and want to highlight them in the sport. So I'd send Leslie Dale, the owner of Skydive Mag, the woman who created this magazine. I would send her interviews, and I just continued to do that. And I did it for a long time, and I loved it. It was my way of finding somebody doing something cool and doing something I knew from a marketing background, and B, a writer, that would make them feel amazing.
Sure.
They would just get this kick online, and hopefully they would share something that would open something for somebody else that read it.
Sure.
So I really, really, really enjoyed that. And then about 2.5 years ago, Leslie said, "Hey, your articles do really well." And she's predominantly belly, and I'm angle free fly. And so she said, do you want to come on board as an editor for these disciplines? And I jumped at the opportunity because it meant a little more regular writing for me, and the ability to create a little bit more space in my calendar for it. And then go more than just interviews, right? Actually go into, I've been on the road coaching for 6 solid years, full time. Around the world. I'm on the road 9 months out of the year, and I am exposed to so many planes, so many pilots, so many drop zone managers, so many students. So I'm feeling and seeing a lot coming up in the sport for sure. And it was my opportunity to bring some of these things, really heavy on the safety things, really heavy on the modern flying, on the inner world of skydiving, which are all passions of mine.
Sure.
It was an opportunity for me to bring that to life on the magazine. So I jumped at it. It's been fun.
It's so much fun, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I got randomly approached by Cola and Laura that were the owners and operators of Blue Skies magazine. This would have been in 2007 or 8, something like that. And I knew Cola just from a few run-ins that we'd had at Skydive Cross Keys. And she knew that I was flying the Twin Otter for Doug Smith out in Chicagoland. And she asked me if I wanted to write an article on a pilot's perspective of the drop zone. And it was just going to be a one-off. I don't even know where she had heard that I'd done a little writing before. And I hadn't been actively writing in years, but I thought, yeah, fuck it, why not? And so she said, be abrasive, be funny, use foul language, talk about boobs. I want all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, great, sure. And so I wrote what I thought was going to be a way over the top article that was meant to be a lot of fun, but definitely aiming towards the safety side of an operation in skydiving from my perspective. And it ended up being entitled Pissed Off Pilot, What Your Pilot Might Be Thinking and Why. And I didn't even title that, they did. But in it, somewhere, I had used the phrase, the fucking pilot, because that's what we are. I fucking piloted this or that. And so they got it, and I thought they would chop it to pieces or probably not use it all. They printed it verbatim, word for word, and then asked me if I wanted to write a monthly column as the fucking pilot, and it ended up being one of the funnest things I ever did in the sport.
Amazing. I love that so much.
Oh, it was just such a good time because I mean, you know how cathartic sitting down to write something can be, and you just get to unload in a way that a lot of people don't, and share something in a way that a lot of people don't. And it's even if nobody else reads it, being able to just put that down is amazing.
It is. It crystallizes a lot of things for you as well. You know, there might be something where it's just like it's there on the parameters of your mind, and you've had these feelings or thoughts before. And then when you actually put a pen to paper, it's like that's what it is. It's like you're able to really define it. So
Yep.
it's for everybody, but also you get so much out of it of like that's what that thing is. That's what this is, which is a cool part of it.
It really is. Now, I don't know how many times I would get a message because they were always last minute, saying, "Hey, can you write something about this? Can you write something about that?" But half of the time, it was just a, "Hey, we need another article," and I would sit down at my laptop with fucking no clue what I was going to write about and just start typing out a story. And I was along for the ride just like everybody else. I'd get to the end of it going, "Holy shit, I didn't see it going that way." And it was
So
so much fun being able to do that.
so cool. I
Yeah.
love it. I see that. That's a writer in you for sure.
Well, and especially for you when you're able to sit down and dive into someone else's experience behind it. And I didn't do too many interviews with people, but I did a few. And it was very fun to try and shift gears and put yourself in someone else's mindset and write in a way that reflects where they're coming from. And it was a fun, unique new challenge.
Totally. You know, it's cool. There's so many different like I just hosted the Texas Women's Head Down sequential record attempts this past weekend. We set it and then we broke it twice. And
Nice.
in that group of women, there was a heart surgeon, a literal rocket scientist, a mom, a professional skydiver. It's just like you get a small group, just a small group of skydivers, and it makes no sense that we're all
Yeah.
here together. So
Yeah.
to be able to find somebody and like, hey, what's going on with you? And really unpeel some layers and figure it out what who this person is. There's a lot to be learned about people. It's cool.
Yeah. Was Vanessa Shirazi, Vanessa Mohawk, was she
She
out on it?
was, of course she was. Man,
Amazing.
what a joyful mom she is. She's incredible energy.
She was so I had her on the show. It would have been a few years ago now, and I always go into these not knowing too much about the people that I talk to, and I like it that way because I want to get to know you as the people listening get to know. So I had no idea what her background was and what her job was, and I'm just sitting there with my jaw on the floor going, but you're the chick that runs around with a mohawk and does free flying and stuff. You're a neuroscience? Holy shit. And just absolutely floored. And I have been joyfully surprised by the shit that people get up to outside of skydiving for every episode that I've done this. And it's so refreshing to meet people like her that are just these astounding human beings. And they do really cool stuff like, Texas State sequential head down world records, amazing.
Oh, talk about imposter syndrome. When I have a, on any given day, I've got a rocket scientist and I'm teaching them the importance of, center of gravity in their body and how to like get their shins engaged for, rolling through from back to belly flock and rolls. And I'm like,
Yep.
college dropout over here, and we're gonna play this game today that I am, that I am the leader, and it's just so funny. It really keeps you humble as well as you're a coach in skydiving, which is I tell people it's like the most unimportant important thing.
Yeah.
Like she's out there doing these incredible things, and it's such a trip. It's such a trip. It's so
Oh, yeah.
beautiful that we can meet in this place again, this
Yeah.
beautiful place.
Well, and the imposter syndrome stuff is fun. It's fun. It's fun to go, oh, I'm so fucking out of my depth right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a number of pilots that I've trained to fly jumpers in the Twin Otter that were already very accomplished pilots. And I'm sitting in the seat teaching them this and that and the other thing going, I can't believe I'm telling this guy this. Like, but it's so much fun. It really, really is. And
Totally.
it kind of I don't know about you, but you get a little bit older in life and you start to realize that most people out there that are accomplished have imposter syndrome going on big time.
So true. So
They
true.
all do.
And high level performers, which are, a lot of us in skydiving, also totally enjoy being able to be beginner at something and
Okay.
not have to think and not have to lead and not have to do those things. So sometimes I feel those people when I'm coaching them just like revel in the fact that they just like, oh, tell me what to do and teach me. And
Yep.
so there's something really beautiful there too. And my coaching style, I had this thing a few years back where I was just working so much and I was starting to get a little burnout because there's the Alethia who runs I run yoga retreats unattached to skydiving. And that's where I like just go full into my inner world. And my inner world is a really big part of my passion in life.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I used to compartmentalize skydiving and the other passions. And then at some point I started to get burnt out because it was just, you're kind of doing a lot of the same things as, if you're coaching like 800, 900 jumps a year, a lot of the days can kind of feel the same in terms of what I'm teaching. And I realized I'm not going to really be able to do this without feeling burnt out, which is a very unfamiliar feeling for me. I'm fucking stoked to be alive, like super stoked. But I realized I won't be able to do this to the level that I want to if I keep separating these parts of my life. So I just went full in. I started the tunnel wellness retreats. I changed everything about the way I'm teaching. When you fly with me for a day, you are working on breath work. I'm giving you breath work tools. We're working on muscle recruitment. We're working on visualization. We're talking about diet and nutrition. We're talking about self-talk and shame and being an athlete. And that's how I was able to like fully shift the outcome of this coaching thing. Now
Sure.
I try to, when those rocket scientists come up who are just 100% full throttle all the time and they're not aware of some of these things I've learned, over 25 years of use of my life that have fully grounded me and given me the ability to access different layers of what this human experience is. I'm able to cheat those codes into the 8 jumps that we have together. And that's what brings a lot of fulfillment to me. It's connecting the dots of their flying because that's huge. But more importantly, like being able to cheat all of these things into their days. So maybe they walk away going, yeah, there's a breath for your nervous system. Or yeah, I probably should hydrate a little bit more. My self-talk needs some work.
I was going to ask you if you got any pushback on the whole breathwork, this and that, but you're sneaking it in on them. Because I vividly remember I went through Eloy to get my AFF, and I remember walking past the packing mat, and I always say it Sean McCormick, and I think it was, I'm not sure, but somebody was leading a yoga session on the packing mat, and I remember walking by him going, the fuck are they wasting their time for that for? And now here I sit at 56 going, I fucking wish I'd have laid down on that mat. I really wish I'd have stretched. Why the fuck? Why didn't I do that
Totally.
yoga? hindsight's 2020. But I would imagine maybe in the past, my generation coming up, maybe you would have gotten pushback from that. But I would imagine that the generations of skydivers coming up now are much more receptive to encompassing all of that in their skydiving training.
They are way more receptive for sure because those types of things have become like commercialized products. So it's
Yeah.
way easier for people to get involved in when you have Instagram influencers involved in all this stuff, right? Which is cool. But because I'm 25, 26 years plant-based, I understand that if you want to have discussions about these types of things against it with a resistance audience, there are very clever ways to do it where it's unassuming, non-threatening, and just a peaceful offering, right? So
Sure.
I've been leading yoga on drop zones for 16, 17 years. I've got photos where I've got 50, 60 people, every age group there, doing it. And it's because it's not, I never teach yoga, and I'm mostly a mobility teacher for the last 5 years because women don't need any yoga, men do. So
Right.
I find I pull men in by giving them mobility classes, um, but as long as I would offer yoga or call it mobility, but offer it in a way that's not threatening and not intimidating because like you have to fold in half like a taco, then I would be able to bring those kind of resistant people into it.
Sure.
Maybe it would just be as easy as like, are your shoulders a little tight? I.e., every man's shoulders are tight.
Right.
Um, well, like if we just open into the scapula and the chest and whatnot, and then
Yep.
that would open the door into this is like leaving a little treat. Hey, why don't you
Sure.
follow me in this direction?
Well,
Um,
and that was the thing too for my generation. I mean, I'm the diehard generation that it was, all about the bodybuilders and the action stars that never felt any fear and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And so yoga was so dramatically the opposite direction when I was younger because it was all about your chakras and finding your centers and stuff. And I I'm just an old dude. Give me yoga without the yoga.
Seriously.
That's what I need. I don't want to find my center. I don't want no. Just give it to me in a more clinical way, and I'm going to respond to it much better. And of course, it took years and years and years before the first time I took a stretching class that was yoga that beat the living shit out of me, and I went, "Fuck, that was amazing." And then you realize, oh, it's just yoga with a slightly different outfit on.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like we can call it stretching. I also use stretching. Like we
yeah,
can call it
genius,
stretching.
genius.
I'm not gonna take those men and make them open up about their feelings and tell them to let shit go. Let that doesn't serve them go. It's like, come on, tune in a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Those are the
yeah,
audiences that they want to know, how do I open up my hips and my shoulders? How do I work on the back stuff? Like
yeah.
just give me a little bit more ability to stretch because I have the muscles and I'm a man, so I'm a bit tighter.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like this hurts and I can't turn my head this direction. Fix it.
Don't and please leave out the chakra.
Yeah, what do
Yes.
I do to make this better? I don't want to talk about crystals. Like, I don't want to.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and it's funny because I talk shit about it, and most of the people that I know that are deep into yoga and the spiritual side of it are probably dramatically happier people than me. So I'm not talking shit about the way they do things. It's just not for me. Like when I eat a bunch of mushrooms, if I want any type of release from anything, I do it by myself because that's just the way I'm programmed. That's the shit you do on your own. And however you get it done. But calling yoga something else for the sake of getting it into somebody's head is the amazing.
I feel you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm right there with you.
So tell me, I know before the we started recording, we had talked briefly, and you said there's some changes going on with Skydive Mag and some new exciting stuff coming. So what's all that about?
Ah, Dean, I'm very excited. I am in the process of becoming full owner of Skydive Mag.
Cheers
Um,
for that.
Thank you. Cheers right back
Amazing.
at you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, Leslie Gale is looking to retire and spend more time in her garden, and she's done such an amazing job with Skydive Mag. I mean, just she's such a legend. And after writing for her for so many years, she pitched her company to me last fall, and I thought, I don't think so. I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. But through the process of chatting for a couple months, we actually I figured out that it was the right thing for me, and I'm thrilled, like really thrilled. So I'm currently the director. And running all of the content. Leslie's, still on board to help with this transition period in this next year, but she's really stepped back quite a bit. And yeah, I'm excited, brother. Like I'm thrilled. I had no clue Skydive Mag was had such a huge readership. I had no clue. And that was part of the reason I was like, no, I don't think so. Like how many people are, I didn't know that it was so big in the sport. It's
Mm.
huge. Um, so I already have an incredible audience. And the areas that I want to take it, I think are going to really open up a lot of learning and just excitement in the sport. I'm
Amazing.
pumped.
Amazing. Well, and I mean, come on, at the end of the day, it's exposure, exposure, exposure. Get that sport out there. Find like-minded people, because at the end of the day, we're all looking to just expand this tribe of really cool people that we've got so that we can just keep having more fun and get more people.
Yeah, that's it. I have I see so many directions for this magazine in terms of exposure into the like real world. Again, the little quotations
Yeah.
into the real world. Because there's so like this is a high level sport. I mean, we are performing for 45, 60 seconds at a time. And some of the things we're doing is totally fucking mind blowing.
Oh, yeah.
We are a sport with athletes. Like we have the right to really be seen out there for what we are. And then also within the sport, safety, we have so much room to grow still.
Yeah.
And education within the magazine has a really big, I'm going to push education big time there, push safety big time there, and then push modern flying. And
Nice.
also, I'm really looking for, like the Pete Allens and the Dan BCs who are up and coming. Like, who are those next generation?
Sure.
I want to give them a platform and a voice. I want to know around the world who are those next generation of like really big leaders for safety and flying.
Sure.
And then highlighting a lot more videos and yeah, just like I want this platform to be there for the thinkers, the doers, and the shakers in our sport,
Sure.
and get it seen by a broader audience of non-skydivers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about that. It's about spreading the knowledge, spreading the joy of the sport, and of course now with social media being as wild and crazy as it is, and so much of what I see now reflects positively on our sport. Granted, it's through the avenue of base jumping quite a lot of the time, but it still aims towards us and our sport and our tribe. Because I mean, with very few exceptions, base jumpers are skydivers as well, even if they don't jump a ton. So it leads all into one big happy family, and you never know what's coming next and who's coming next. When I started this, it was never about I want to talk to the most impressive skydivers. I want to talk to all of them. I want to know why that guy just went and did his first tandem. I want to know why this guy's a tandem instructor. I want to know why the champion swoops the way he does or that team flies the way it does. But I want to talk to everybody because there's so much to be offered and so many different perspectives in the sport that are worth highlighting.
I fully agree. I
Yeah.
fully agree with that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's so. When officially is Skydive Mag going to be yours, or is that pretty much already happened?
It's pretty much already happened. Yeah.
That's
Like
awesome.
Les is out there. Les is out there just really, the handover process is totally wild, but she's here with me kind of doing some background things and yeah, we're in a beautiful process of like, she'll be full-time gardening and swimming in her beautiful pool very soon. So
Nice, nice.
it's already taking, there's going to be a very gentle rebrand happening with just the look of the magazine. That's going to feel really nice for me. And then probably 2026 next year, there'll be a full rebrand.
That's amazing.
So just a couple small changes on the visuals, really opening up the content for the directions that I want to shift it and just having a blast, Dean. I'm
Amazing.
having a blast with it.
Amazing. Well, shit, now I know who to hit up when I want to do some writing.
Bring that fucking pilot over to me.
Damn right. Damn right. Well, so with that in mind, tell everybody how they can follow you on socials, how they can get some coaching from you, and where they go to either follow Skydive Mag if they don't already, or when to watch for all the changes.
Amazing. Thank you. So I'm very active on Instagram, Alethia J Alethia J. You can also find me on Facebook, Alethia J Austin. And for Skydive Mag, go to skydivemag.com or fully digital magazine.
Awesome. Alethia, I'll tell you what, especially with as busy as I now know you are, I'm very glad that we were able to find the time, sit down, and get this done. It was amazing.
Thank you, Dean. So
You
nice
take
to
care.
meet you, brother. Have a beautiful day over there.
You too. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.